Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I want to come on today and finish this off. I have to tell you, when I started this project, it was it was going to be a nice, quick little flip for a change, rather than being, one of the big, huge pieces that I tend to do. It was going to be just a nice little quick one, a couple of cool little techniques, and then be done and move on to the next. I have a buffet sitting waiting for me, of course. Um, and and the last time that you saw me, you saw it all wrapped up in green plastic. So to kind of recap, for those of you that are just joining, I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations. We started off with this piece by painting, and I've used all DIY, Debbie's Design Diary paints with this piece. So we started off by painting it in a base coat of faded burlap, and I think I have them all still here. So kind of a nice, kind of just creamy beige neutral color. And then we added in shades of petticoat pink, soft pink, cherry picked, which is kind of a rich kind of plummy color that you see up in here. I guess really it should be like a Bing cherry color, but you're with me. And we used letterpress gray, which was a nice soft gray color. And I actually put in tiny little hints of this blue. We added some of it using some syringes and letting things drip. We did a watercolor effect. It got really drippy, really messy, but a lot of fun. So cool techniques. Then, after everything dried, all of a sudden it decided to start to bleed, kind of bleeding the oil through. And I did a couple of close-up pics, so you can look back on the Facebook page, Queen Bee Creations Facebook page, to be able to see some of the close-up pics of some of the greasy, oily stuff. I had chosen initially not to, somebody in the driveway. I had chosen initially not to seal the piece, but clearly it had needed to be sealed. So sometimes you make these choices and they're the wrong choice. In this case, I had decided, okay, terrific, sealed up the piece, and I had to go back and start over. So I took my Kills primer, which is a stain and odor blocker, and I sealed off the top again. I wrapped this all in plastic because I was going to do that watercolor effect and I didn't want it to drip all over. Sealed it all up with the primer, did 2 coats of that, and then I went and did the watercolor effect. Okay, looked really good. And then as it was drying, all of the primers started to rise up and bubble up. So it was one mistake initially, that I thought this was a newer piece. It's a Bombay company table, so it's not particularly old. I didn't think that it needs sealing. It needed sealing. I didn't, regretted it, went to fix it, and made it worse. So I actually, since you saw me last, I actually took the whole piece outside, sanded it right down to the bare wood, primed it, and then had to paint again. However, after I primed it and I started painting, I realized, okay, I don't think I want to risk that watercolor effect. I painted it differently, so just in kind of nice blended layers, using the pink and the cherry picked plum and the gray wash over top, unwrapped the piece and found, even though it was all wrapped and sealed up, it had leaked anyway, and all of the base that had been finished was all ruined from all of the leakage. It had run down legs, so the legs were ruined. So I had to repaint the base and cover up some of the other mistakes, and yeah, that's why it took a couple of days. So it's now all looking lovely, and I love how it looks. I should have just done this to begin with. So we took the long way around to get here. It's been sealed with wax this morning, and the wax buffed back. I'm loving how it looks. I had still had a lot of the drips that we had done with the syringe and all of these crevices, so it's nice and different colored. These parts of the legs, which look a little bit different, I actually sponge painted layers in the pink, the cherry picked, and the gray. So we got some different looks happening there, so a little bit of variation. And now we're good to go. So what I want to finish with, which is going to be very subtle, and you might not be able to see it. So I'm going to show you the how I want to apply it, and then let you go. I'll finish it off, take some close-up pics so that you can see what it looks like, because as much as originally I wasn't sure about if I was going to do some gilding wax or some Shiva sticks, which is like an oil stick that self-seals on it, I thought once I saw the piece finished, it would be a little bit too harsh. It would be a little bit too gold, too strong. So what I am going to use are two products. One is, and I mix this on the lid of my clear wax. So this is an Annie Sloan clear wax, which is what I covered the piece in. And I have hand mixed it, because when I'm done, then I'm just gonna wipe this off. I've hand mixed it with this little purple dust. So Naveen, what color is it right now? What you're seeing mostly is a mix of the DIY paint in the in the petticoat pink, and the cherry picked, which is kind of that Bing cherry kind of color, and letterpress gray, which I don't think I can get the lid off. Oh, I can. Letterpress gray, which is kind of a mid-tone gray, which was a wash over top of it. Okay, way better after the do-over. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Lydia. Makes me feel like it was all worth it, because really, when I was in the midst of this, there was a lot of curse words there. It was one of those things, but I wanted to come on and be straight with you guys. Not all these things work out, and when I tell you, look, don't worry about, if you want to try some of this, don't worry about messing it up, because it's just paint. It's your time that you kind of lose in the process too, but that's part of the learning curve. This was just a heck of a challenge all the way through, but I'm loving it now. So what I did do, and let me see if I can get the name of this dust. This is the first time that I'm using this. So it's kind of like a pearlescent dust called Pearl X. This is, it says it's a, let me look for the name of this. Of this color. It says Blue Russet, which you can see I've mixed it up with just taken a little bit of a half a teaspoon with a little bit of wax. This will be more than enough to do the whole dresser, no problem.
Naveen asked, where can you buy these easily?
Okay, buy the DIY paint. If you're looking for the DIY paints that I used, you could go on to Debbie's Design Diary. She's in the States. And she has a a retailer's list, so you'll be able to find whatever retailer is closest to your area. I'm here in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Not sure where you are. And my closest retailer was in Hamilton, but they seem to have disappeared. So I just actually placed an order 700 miles away to get some DIY paint, because I don't want to have to deal with going over the border and the exchange and all that kind of stuff. So depending upon where you are, because I know I've got a lot of people from the US that are on this channel with me too, take a look at the DIY website, and you'll be able to find whoever your closest retailer is and be able to see. But you could do the same look with any chalk paint company if you wanted, like a Dixie Belle chalk paint or an Annie Sloan chalk paint. With they all would have probably some similar colors. I think maybe the cherry picked and the burgundy is kind of maybe the most different maybe for some of those lines, but they would all blend the same and you would be able to do that. This dust, I just got off of Amazon for something to play with. And what I was looking at doing and what I did with the test, and I'm just using a little thin fan brush. And I'm just looking at adding it just a little bit to some of those burgundy areas. And I tend to use it very lightly. And it's just going over those same areas. And when I get so that there's very little left on it, then I'll take it over some of the grayer areas. So I'm using it more intensely on where the cherry picked plum color is, because it kind of matches and it just adds a little bit of a shimmer in that area. And then when I'm mostly a dry brush, then I'll maybe take it onto those lighter grayer areas so it's not this harsh contrast. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, because I'm not looking at wanting it really to stand out. I'm just looking at it enhancing the color a little bit, bringing it out a little bit more, getting a little bit more of that contrast coming down here and in some of the places that I've added some of that burgundy. So not a lot, just a little. But it's one of those things that adds a little bit more depth and interest once you see the piece closer up. And I'm really going for some of that that kind of old world kind of charm, taking it from looking like it was this brand new Bombay Company piece. The other product that I'm using, because I wanted the gold on here, but I didn't want it to be this really strong opaque gold, is another product from DIY. You can see it's well-used jar. It's really messy stuff, which is their golden ticket. And this is a kind of a translucent gold. So it adds the gold shimmer. So you can see that it's kind of the old gold, not this bright, shiny, brassy kind of goldy color. But it is pretty transparent. So I'm dipping my brush in and I'm kind of dabbing it off on my drop cloth a little bit. And I'm just adding it in spots. And rather than it being this solid gold, I can still see the underlying colors below it. So it's adding this golden shimmer where I apply it without losing the color. And that's why I went with this rather than some of the other gold options that I might have used instead, because it adds this nice little shimmer over top. But you can still see, like for you guys, this is still probably looking like the cherry picked, right? It's looking that purple color. Whereas closer up, I can see that gold shimmer. So it's adding a little bit more detail and a little bit more interest. And when I get the dry brush, I'm going in some of those areas to add just a little bit of a softer look to it. And again, I'm using that fan brush, nice and flat, okay? Because I can use it in the creases, like for the lines, if I want some lines in there. But then I can also, so maybe a little bit down in there, and then I can use it flat edged to just add a little bit of a dry brushing effect over some of the other pieces. So again, I'm going to take some close-up pics for you As soon as I'm off the live, I brought my iPad down, so I'll take a couple of quick pics before I continue on, just so that you can see what I'm talking about. The other thing that I'm doing is I plan on doing this kind of little dry brushing all the way around that outside top edge. Just again, it's very faint, but it adds just a little bit of that gold edging right at the very top. So again, getting a little bit of that gold shimmer in strategic places, probably more up in here and then down on these bottom legs. I'll do a lot. Not as much here, okay? It'll be very light, very faint, mostly just in the dry brushing. So when I get to the brush is almost all offloaded already, then I'll maybe use a little bit in spots here, okay? When I look at these flat areas, it'll just be around the edges. It's not going to be down in the main areas. They're just going to be as they are. So I'm loving how it's coming out now. I do get some spots where a little bit of that electric blue, that water lily from DIY that I just used a little bit and kind of sparingly, I had dripped. If you were with me on some of the others, I had used the syringe to drip down these legs so it got into some of the crevices. So it's still highlighting down in there. A couple of spots where I put it down in the creases. It's really subtle, and it's just here and there-ish. So it's just enough to add this little touch of giving this the look that it's a piece that's had paint layered on it for, decades, right? That this was grandma's and she painted it 12 times, mom painted it 7, and I'm on my 3rd coat. It's got that kind of a look to it, which was what I was after, something that was going to be a little bit more aged looking. So I'm just going to be carrying on doing some of the waxing with that shimmer dust in my clear wax and with some of the golden ticket from DIY. And I'll take a quick pic for you and post it up on the website first. But I wanted to give you the story of why I disappeared with this piece for a couple of days, because I was out sanding it like crazy and repainting and starting some stuff from scratch. So I love the watercolor effect that we did. I'm going to be doing that on another piece. I had done it on a big old door once before with rust and things like that. But, and I had done it on a raindrop dresser as well. I had cut out a stencil with big raindrops and did raised stencils with it, and then turned the piece on its back, put the drawers in, and then did a watercolor effect with all kinds of different blues to make it look like it was just puddles of different colors around and over top of these raised raindrops, which was a lot of fun, very cool. It definitely sold very quickly because it was very unique and very different looking. But yeah, it's been a while. And just doing it on this little piece, I decided, oh, I need to do that again. So we'll maybe have some fun with that, and we'll see where we can do it on a piece where we're able to keep it and not have to paint over it and sand it off and that kind of thing. But I think it was important for you guys to kind of see it doesn't all go smoothly, right? And even some of your fixes don't go smoothly, and you have to sometimes fix your fixes, and kind of
being asked kindly write all the product names whenever you post your video.
Okay, I can definitely do that. And definitely when I do most of my YouTube ones, I will do that. But I'll do that on Facebook, Naveen, because that's where you are. So I'll give you the names of each of the products and the companies, and then you can see where your closest stockist is for you to be able to do. So thanks for hanging in, guys, and kind of seeing where this one went. Took a complete U-turn on me. But you know what? That happens sometimes. It's not all smooth sailing, and it's one of the reasons sometimes too where I hesitate to do custom work, because it all sounds good in my head and it sounds reasonable, and sometimes the piece has a mind of its own and you have to kind of go with that. But in this case, I don't want to say it was a happy accident because I really wasn't happy about it at all. But it's turned out nice in the long run, and I'm loving the color combination on this. And I think that if you guys play with this one, you're going to be happy with where it takes you to. It loves gold too. This color combination really seems to be loving the addition of the gold too. So I will take that close-up pic and send it to you. So thanks for popping in. I'll send you some additional pics. We'll get this staged in the next day or so as well, so you can see it in its finished glory. Thankfully, I'm a little happy to be close to the finish line on this one, I must say. And then I got a big buffet that's waiting to come in and get started on. So we'll see where that one wants to go and what look we end up with that one. Hope you guys are having fun. I hope that you're doing something creative, and I hope you're not going crazy stuck at home. But me, I'm in my element. This is where I always work from anyway, so I had an advantage. Looking forward to seeing you guys again, and we'll see what else I get up to and how that goes. But thanks for dropping by. Take care.